Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Through the Web podcast. This is a bit of a special episode today. We recorded this last week of December before going on holidays, so we thought we'd do a bit of a special episode. So why don't you tell us a bit about what we'll be talking about?
Yeah, it's a prediction of what's to come in the upcoming year. So we will be releasing this on the first few weeks of 2023. So this will technically be the first episode of the year, but we're not in 2023 yet. Mm-hmm. So a bit of time traveling happening, a bit of Christopher Nolaning. But essentially what we're doing is I have 3 predictions of 2023 based around topics that we generally cover or have covered over the year on this podcast, mostly around tech, internet culture, all that kind of jazz. And Dagogo has also made 3 predictions. Our good friend and producer Brayden here, he made sure that there are no overlaps. Dagogo and we don't know each other's predictions. And essentially, we're going to go through them one by one and discuss and see what we think of each other's predictions, and perhaps come back to this at the end of 2023 to see how many of us got the predictions right. So should be an interesting episode.
Yeah, for sure. I think it'll be interesting to look back and see how we did.
And also to find out each other's predictions.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so without further ado, why don't you start us off?
I'll pass it back to you.
Oh.
straight smash back.
Okay, well, the first prediction I have is for a killer AI app that is actually for video. So you know how DALL-E 2 was for images and kind of photorealistic, looks about 80% believable, 80% real. I think we'll get to that stage next year. So it will either be OpenAI or Google. One of them will release an AI app where you can just type something in and it produces like a 5-second, 10-second video that looks photorealistic. And it's just going to set people's heads spinning again, I think. That's a pretty safe bet. Yeah, but that's my first.
So it's specifically video focused.
Yes.
There was one app that was kind of in that zone. I forget the name. We'll have to look it up. But they had something similar that it didn't get as popular as the other ones that we've covered over the years in terms of photo-based applications. But this one, you could essentially write or even cover or like cut certain people from the video itself and place it somewhere else.
That's not really what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah, but I think it does takes a lot of prompts to be able to do that.
Okay.
So there's some overlap, but not a killer app yet.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody would be using it.
Yeah. So what I mean is that by this one is it does everything from scratch. So you could say an elephant wearing a hat under the sea, and then it just animates that. So I don't know if you saw, but in kind of the second half of that video I released on OpenAI's ChatGPT, there was a section where I did just what's going on in AI, and Google did that. So their one is maybe 50% believable or 50% of the way to realism. But some of the ones where it's just scenery or some trees or some water droplets or something like that, it looks pretty real already. So I think, we'll just bump that up to the next level next year.
And I think even Meta had a
they
bit
did,
of play around
yes,
with
they
it.
did. Yeah, Meta AI, which is funny because Meta's kind of like this joke company in a way, as in obviously they've got a lot of money, they're doing a lot of cool stuff, but everyone just kind of laughs at them. But yeah, maybe we're sleeping on their AI section. That stuff looked pretty good from what they were doing.
Yeah, I think they were, again, at a very early stage from the examples that they had shared maybe last quarter, if I'm not mistaken. But I think you're right. I think you've got a good bet in there saying that it's going to be a killer app. What I would really hope, and I think it will be achievable, at some point, maybe not next year, but the quality of, say, Unreal Engine 5 or like Blender, where you just, because there's some stuff on that were made on Blender and then animated that I've seen on TikTok and other social media, just little clips of maybe just an empty train station that looks so real.
I've seen that one.
Like stuff like that, for example, like in Japan, or just this post-apocalyptic scenario, stuff like that, for example, would be pretty cool and achievable, I think, very, very soon. Maybe not next year. Well, not in 2023. But yeah, we'll see we'll see how that goes. But no, good one.
Yeah. Okay. What's your first one?
It's it's very similar, and it's funny because when we got Brayden to kind of vet the two predictions, he said, "No, there's one that's kind of similar," and I think this is the one he was talking about. So mine is that a big company will come up with / acquire a one-stop shop, which is an AI tool. So it's not just a video making app; it's multiple use. So you'll have ChatGPT kind of stuff, like everything that you would need for perhaps being a creator, or even like just running a small business. And I think it could potentially be one of the big social media companies that either comes up with it or acquires this tool. So imagine if you're a small business and you need to create, like, you make handcrafted goods, and you want to run up a store. Previously, what you'd have to do, or currently what you have to do is, you have to come up with a business name, social media pages, website, all the copy for the website, all the visuals for the website, even the setting up the entire order fulfillment flow. So Shopify, you'd get that and connect it potentially with Shopify, and set it up, right? I think we will get to a point where there will be one thing that allows you to do all of that. So not, log in on Canva, make something, download, log in on CapCut or a video editing tool and download something. Everything will be in just one space, especially with ChatGPT's capabilities of writing copies for website, for SEO. Like, that's a game changer. Like the amount of hours that used to go to doing that kind of stuff, like even just product descriptions, right? The starting points that ChatGPT is giving right now, I think will again level up by 10 times in 2023, where it can be used for this kind of stuff. And then you've got the whole creator economy side of things, where I'm sure people are already making stuff that are entirely AI based, getting scripted on ChatGPT, tweaking it a little bit, taking it to some other AI tool, getting maybe a voiceover done. Maybe it's not probably someone's real voice either, getting to a video editing tool where everything's kind of stock footage. So all that stuff under one space that will be either acquired by a big company or built by a big company.
I agree with you that it looks like the direction will be getting to that one-stop shop for everything, where it's like, probably a nicer interface than ChatGPT, but you're like, oh, draw me this, or like, make a video of this or whatever, and it goes and does it for you. But 2023, you think that will? Yeah,
but I mean, look, at the start of the year, we were just barely scratching the surface of what like AI could do in terms of even like the pre-DALL-E days, which sounds weird, but that was in April or March, right? Yeah. Where we were just excitedly talking about, oh, this is really cool tool. And I can't even remember what the earlier or the other version of it was, which got acquired by a different company.
So not DALL-E 1, not DALL-E Mini.
It was probably DALL-E Mini.
That didn't get acquired, or did it? I don't know, but they changed the name.
That's right. Yeah,
that's all I know.
Right. So I thought it got acquired, but either way, like the initial images, I remember even trying it out myself, where you put just random people, and it looked so bad, but you could tell that it was definitely different from what we had in the past. And then 4, 5, 6 months onward, like you have freaking Lensa AI and ChatGPT doing all this kind of cool stuff. So before what I would have seen previously, I probably would have said maybe a couple more years, but I think we're in for a surprise in 2023.
All right, I'll pay that. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so that's my thing. On that note, though, I think subsequently AI-based lawyers and laws around it will also be super hot in 2023, like around the whole idea of intellectual property, and I think there will be some form of legal reform happening based on, I guess, the first part of that. So technically, as side tangential prediction on that,
which is interesting because that touches on one of mine. But anyway,
okay, yeah, but that wasn't like the main part of the prediction. Okay. But I'll pass it off to you for a second one.
Okay, so this second one's just general economic prediction. So I think it's going to go one of two ways. Either there was some bank that's been playing around and doing something stupid, and with these high interest rates, it ends up blowing up, and then a bit of chaos, or there's a bit more of a recession than first thought, and the economy slow down further because of the higher interest rates, faster than first thought, and then central banks like, oh, we've got to stimulate the economy again, so they cut rates, and then stocks go up, property goes up, and we end up with like another mini boom. So I think either one of those situations may happen next year.
I think that's definitely a possibility. I've been seeing a lot of the big CEOs saying things like, make sure you hold on to your money. This is not the time to buy a 40, 50-inch TV for extra room or something like that. Right. There's been a lot of kind of similar mentality and narratives being thrown around at this last few weeks, to be fair. And I think, again, generally when that happens, or when I think big CEOs and ultra-rich people say something, you tend to think that the opposite is going to happen, or something that would benefit them or their companies, right, or something of that sort, where they're trying to kind of not necessarily manipulate, but send the market to a direction that I guess helps them first in a lot of ways. This is based on a couple of videos that I saw. It's obviously not based on data or anything like that. So on that note, I feel that if they're telling you not to spend money, I guess there will be potential longevity of the recession of some sort, with the mini boom coming at some point as well.
Yeah, and I think if there is another mini boom, that will be quite interesting, because do we get more stupidity? Do we get like another NFT hype cycle? Because I don't know, like I think we were saying it in the last podcast, like at the peak of that NFT boom, it was like, what is happening? Yeah. Because logically, everyone saw it was stupid to pay so much money for something that could easily be copied. And I guess the thread that everyone was hanging on to was like, oh, well, it's a unique digital copy. But in reality, it didn't really mean much. And then we see like a year later, what was it? Logan Paul bought that NFT for a few million. It's going for like $100 or something. Yeah. Will we bump back into that? Like, I think people look at NFTs and say it's stupid, but maybe when the price starts going up again, people will jump in. So
it's funny because as I was thinking about the predictions, one of the things I want to touch on was potentially the crypto side of things. But and the thing that I was thinking, that maybe crypto will make a comeback at some point, to maybe not the same all-time highs, but definitely way better than where it's right now. But I didn't want to go down that route because, again, crypto's just been so unpredictable and volatile. Like any prediction you made could potentially just happen. So I thought maybe it was an easy cop-out for it to be a prediction for 2023. But you're right. I think with times like that, you generally do see some form of mob mentality or herd mentality rather. And that changes the direction of where people choose to spend their money. I think you're right. I think there could be something of that sort, even if not NFT, maybe it's something else that's maybe just as bizarre. I just can't think of anything as bizarre as NFTs. To be fair,
that was like the thinnest, like most thinly veiled nothing that people were buying into. But I don't know, could it be something even more? Like you're buying a digital land, maybe.
There is digital land, like the whole idea of DAOs and everything else. But it's interesting because at the start of the year when we were talking about NFTs, we weren't this negative about it. I still remember, like we were like, it's like we were skeptical, but we weren't like, it's downright kind of, nothing. Sorry to cut you off, but that does kind of remind me that there was another side to it where it could help artists and all of this, but I think we just never really saw that kind of utilized as much as just the JPEGs and people just trying to make a quick buck. So I guess I will backtrack a bit and say, like, maybe not completely useless, but just not at the same level that we saw it to be.
Okay, so that's my second one.
All right, my second one, and Brayden said this is probably the most predictable prediction in a lot of ways. So Elon Musk will lose to Twitter, but he'll continue to be the same Elon Musk. So he'll be just as loud, obnoxious, and perhaps going to something that is another new industry. And I feel even though that's kind of has been his I guess his entire character arc in a lot of ways, where he builds something, either he loses it or builds into some familiar name, and if he loses it, he goes into something else, and it's just up and down, up and down, up and down kind of thing. But I think this is the first time where I feel that there's a lot more backlash than there ever has been against him, especially just this week. Obviously, he put up a poll on Twitter saying that if he should step down as the CEO, and it was an overwhelming yes from what I last saw. There are also other things, getting booed, for example, the Dave Chappelle show, and things like that. I feel are indications of some sort. And the thing is, the guy can't stop talking. Like, he can't keep his mouth shut. And as long as he keeps talking, he will have people who will oppose him. And also the whole, I guess, banning of journalists who are quote unquote doxing him, or at least working on some of those things. So I think where Twitter is heading, and he's done this before. I know it's an easy prediction, but he's done that before, where he's kind of said things like, I should sell my Tesla shares. He had already been doing that before he tweeted that out. So I think something similar is happening here, where I think he's seeing the end. Like, it's too much. He thought it was going to be very easy, very simple. But I think he's finally getting to a point where I think either he's getting pressure from investors, or he just needs to just let go of the position, and he's just using just like again, like some sort of smoke in front of him to showcase that I'm just doing it based on what the public wants. So yeah, it's more of a logical kind of thinking, or logical thought, rather than a prediction per se. But I guess the backlash potentially will get to a point where you think that there'll be no return, but I feel he'll still make a return through something else. So Twitter's going to be bust, at least with his leadership. But then there's going to be something else that's going to venture into. But yeah, I don't know what that is potentially.
Yeah, I think that's fairly logical. But what if he surprises everyone and kind of learns? Like, maybe when he got on stage with Dave Chappelle and people were booing, he was like, wait, maybe people don't like me. And then he ends up changing his ways. But I think that's quite unlikely, because his whole personality from the get-go.
From time and time again, we've seen CEOs and people like him and others in that kind of area and demographic who don't learn that lesson, who don't... again, I think we've spoken this about CEOs at length, or even people like, SBF and Do Kwon, where the world's against them, and they're like, oh, I'm coming back with another Luna coin, or oh, I'm just gonna, we're gonna do something else. And I don't think that's ever gonna happen, where he'll just take a step back and be like, oh, you know what, I'll just stay quiet for a year and just let people around me do their thing and build the great companies that I'm working with and to greater heights. No, I don't think it's going to be like that.
Yeah, I think there's some part of him that really enjoys stirring up the controversy and just being talked about.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a self-proclaimed troll in a lot of ways, or meme lord in that case. So I think you're right. I think he definitely enjoys that side of the internet, and I think he mimics like a significant side of the internet through this behaviors and actions. That's why he gets the support that he gets, because a lot of people are like him, or sees themselves, this is a billionaire, but he just talks and acts just like me, just another guy with an anonymous name on the internet. So I think that's my second prediction. It's a bit of an easy cop out, but
yeah, well, I think that's pretty much guaranteed, seeing that is already stepping down. But yeah, that's a fair one.
I mean, has he announced?
Not yet, but I'm assuming it's going to happen.
Yeah, by the time this video comes out,
it's probably the new CEO will be Lex Friedman.
Should be interesting.
That would be crazy if he actually obliges to what Lex wrote. So for those of you who don't know, Twitter, there was a Twitter poll, Elon saying if you should be CEO or not, and then under that, Lex Friedman, which is a famous podcaster, tweeted saying, "Oh, let me take over. I think this could be a good opportunity for me," kind of thing. So
I didn't see that.
Oh, really?
No, I didn't see that Lex comment that.
Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah, he did. And then Elon's like, very brave or something. And then it's like, one caveat, you have to sell all that you have or whatever, and invest all your money into Twitter. Elon says, do you love being hated or something like that as well? Or do you love pain or something? You should get the tweet out because I can't remember exactly. But so there was a little bit of an interaction there.
Oh, wow.
But,
I mean, I've only stumbled upon Lex late last year. And obviously he's had a bit of meteoric rise since. And from what I've heard and seen, I wouldn't be totally opposed. At first, I was like, does he have the skills to be a CEO, to be a leader? But then, I mean, Elon Musk potentially has had the skills to be the CEO and the leader, and look what Twitter's doing, right? So I don't think it's an absolute necessity to have all that kind of stuff, because from what I've heard and seen of Lex, he's very logical. He's he does think differently to a lot of people in terms of keeping his emotions aside and being very centered and focused and objective. People like that tend to at least make the right decisions, but I don't know if they're necessarily good leaders to run a company in a lot of ways, because, again, if you're entirely logic driven, I don't know if that potentially works out to run a company and people and stuff like that. So, but no, he should definitely I wouldn't mind Lex. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I think him as a person, yes, definitely. But I think it's hard to, when you're in that CEO role, it just seems so different from whatever someone else might be good at. I think that's a very unique skill, but he may have it. He might surprise everyone, but I'd just love to see it. If that happens, just a Twitter conversation ends up producing a CEO of a company.
Yeah, I mean, not impossible. So
it is 2023 after.
That's it.
Okay, so my last one, I was saying that governments will generally begin to crack down. So I gave three areas. So TikTok, crypto, and AI. So with the TikTok, it's just basically, for the US government anyway, it's a continuation of what's been happening, how they passed that vote saying that TikTok should, what was the vote again? What did they say? TikTok shouldn't be used for military personnel, for one, or any government devices,
government-owned devices, yeah.
But I think that could go a little bit further, because I just feel that the benefit that TikTok brings to the United States from the government's point of view is not much versus the risk that it has. So I see that continuing, but governments are very slow to get their act together, so that's a question mark. As for the crypto one, the head of the US Senate, I'm pretty sure yesterday or the day before, had a call for crypto to be banned in the United States. And I think obviously this has to do with SBF and his shenanigans. I think the lawmakers saw that and said this has to stop.
They already didn't understand what was happening, and then now all this stuff. So
I think SBF, he really screwed a lot of things up. Because with crypto, obviously, there are some benefits in terms of when people keep their wallets to themselves and there's not an exchange, there's no third-party risk of any exchanges or anything like that. People can keep their money, and it's all dependent on the market, which is another story. It can be up or down. But when you have people who have these centralized exchanges and these companies built on top of crypto, it seems like every one of them is fraudulent. So I think SBF was just the final huge nail where, we had Do Kwon and we had, what was that one? The Dr. Ruja lady who did the OneCoin scam.
Right.
All of these things where it was just building and building, and then SBF was the biggest and highest profile and everyone believed him, and just to turn around and just be running the huge Ponzi scheme fraud. I think it just really set regulators on the path of banning crypto. So I think that's probably it's not gonna be banned, but they're gonna start increasing the pressure, I think, next year.
Yeah.
And the final one is AI. I believe that because, from ChatGPT to DALL-E and all of this, we're gonna start seeing a lot of explosion of AI apps. And one of these is gonna be the vehicle for someone to do something stupid somehow. I'm not sure what way, but people will. And, when that starts happening, then I think the government will start paying attention. Maybe not completely, just like China say, ban it all. But again, the pressure will increase for AI regulation, whether, that's making sure what's AI generated, or making sure the companies have I don't know, restrictions with their training data. I don't know what it could be, but just some kind of crackdown by the government.
No, agreed on all 3 points there. I think with the crypto one, though, I think there's going to be pressure, but not as much to take it out around the world. And I think based on what we've seen, there one of the potential other prediction that I was going to make was that we're probably going to see more scams and more similar kind of smarter scams around crypto, where there are people looking for alternative to crypto or like something similar that's coming up, or I don't know what the scams would be, but I feel there's, because with the mini boom as you mentioned, where people are after, where people tend to start spending money on certain things, I think that's where things like that will really push up. So and obviously governments want people to spend money, so I don't know if they're going to be super strict about certain things in those periods of time.
I guess usually when governments want people to spend money, it's within the economy, not so much just
outside of
an asset or something.
Fair.
But I agree that yes, they may, because in one side of my mind, I'm like, shouldn't people be learning from all of these scams? How they
never learn. I mean, how old is Ponzi again? What,
1920, late 20s or early
30s. Yeah, I mean, it's almost 100 years, and we're still getting scammed and fooled day in, day out. So
anyway, but so I guess that can still happen, and people will come up with even more creative ways to scam people. I think a year or two ago, one of the most common ones was, we have this algorithm, there's like a secret trading bot, you put your money in, and then the trading bot will like look at the market and you'll get a steady return. And there was like 3 or 4 major scams like that, but the thing was there was never a trading bot. They were just taking the money and that was it. But I think there will be more scams, unfortunately, but that also ties into the government coming in as well. But
how about the return of the Nigerian prince?
Yes, that was a big thing back in the day. But maybe they'll come back with the crypto.
Come back with the crypto coin, like for the Nigerian prince. That would be something. Yeah. Like imagine people getting
2,000% return guaranteed.
Cool. No, before I state my one, do you have one? Do you think at all? Yeah. All right. So we'll get our producer's thoughts on some of his bonus predictions for everyone. We don't have a camera on him, so you'll just have to look at Dagogo in my face.
All right. Yeah. No. Well, as someone who just uses cameras a lot, I was thinking about tools for filmmakers. We've seen a lot of like little AI tools for upscaling imagery and making old photos from the 70s and 80s actually look up to scratch and whatnot. But I was thinking more along the lines of like video content and like, how so we can generate images from AI and whatnot, but like things like generating 3D models for different software sets. Mm-hmm. We're getting really advanced scanning tools now, and you can do it on your phone, but like actually being able to just type something in and generate like a 3D model, I think we're going to get something like that next year.
Right.
And another one is just like, we've seen like a whole bunch of new interesting features with cameras recently, but a lot of it's quite stagnant. So everyone's just kind of catching up. But I think next year we're going to see like just little things change that we haven't got before. So for example, like Hasselblad just released a camera with a 1 terabyte SSD in it.
Wow.
For some reason, no camera manufacturers thought to have internal storage. I think now that they've done that, I think a lot of other camera manufacturers will think about that, or at least niche manufacturers like Sigma and stuff like that, to try to differentiate themselves from needing super expensive third-party storage and things like that. And the AI tools, like Sony have their new facial recognition, like focus learning. So you can like put a person's face in it and it'll track that person's face and it'll lock onto that. And I think other manufacturers are going to look into how to use AI to improve focus and other tools.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Pretty reasonable, and I think as you mentioned with the last one with Sony using AI to enhance the tools within the camera, I think that definitely will get picked up. because I mean smartphones do that anyway, right? So potentially, like actual.
I guess generally, yes, they use AI to sharpen up an image or
Yeah.
whatever, but I don't think they use the face to lock on autofocus. I don't think that's
Right.
a thing. I'm pretty sure, right? Yeah, I don't think so.
specific.
But yeah, I think that's AI within software. The recent Surface, actually, I'm pretty sure it was that was released. They have this AI that can actually just get rid of noise like crazy. So there was a few tests where they had blaring loud traffic, and then it was just cut. It was just silent,
wow.
and it was just the voice, and you could hear them talking. And I think stuff like that is pretty powerful. And it works so well, and it uses so little battery because they have like chips now that are dedicated to neural processing within the devices. So I think we're just going to see that proliferate as well.
Yeah, I think now that as you're saying, I think stuff like that will definitely, again, for the users and would be tremendous, right? Like imagine trying to record something on your phone or like a really low quality audio. Imagine having an AI that just turns into like really nice, deep, clear audio.
There was actually another one. I saw like another video. It was a standalone app, but it was just for cleaning up either vocals or just your recordings. And I don't know what if it was just trained on different microphones or whatever. I can't really recall, but yeah, it was like a crappy recording, and then it came out like all the noise was gone. This guy even went back to his old videos and like reprocessed them, and it just like cut out all the noise, and everything was like sharp and clear, and it was just like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
It. Yeah. So it already exists.
It already exists.
Right. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
What do you know what it's called?
So I put it in my my one of my favorites on my YouTube like list, but yeah,
Sure.
I'll let you know. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So finally, for my last one, it again is a pretty, I guess, I don't think it's a straightforward prediction, but essentially, I feel that Apple will come up with something revolutionary.
Glasses.
So and it will be an industry that they haven't touched before. So potentially glasses.
Yeah.
It could be something to do with AI. It could be something because I think they do something big.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Cook's done incredible amount of work to just steady the ship, but the cost of that has been not doing something crazy.
I think the M1 was pretty crazy.
M1 was pretty crazy. True. But again, like, would you say it's as crazy as the stuff that Steve Jobs saw?
No. Yeah, I think the difference is what Tim Cook has been doing was something that works under the hood, and it's kind of like, now it's just a rethinking of a laptop. It's like it can last so long, it's as powerful as anything. But yeah, what Steve Jobs was a completely era-defining and product-creating work. So I think there's quite a bit.
Because you're right. I think M1's been a game changer, but it's still within their lane. So I think they will try and do something that's not completely out of their lanes, but something that's a little parallel or just a little off tangent. And I think, again, like I said, that they're due for something crazy that really establishes themselves as the company that they are. They haven't done that in a while. And I feel 2023 could be that year, especially with so many things happening in the world of AI and metaverse, or at least with the buzzwords that are coming around those things. I think Apple would want to be part of that revolution, or at least be at the forefront of something. And because others have kind of tested the grounds already,
I think for sure, because if you remember the iPhone 12, 13, the one with the AR, the LiDAR and all of that, there was a lot of talk that was the preparation for the AR stuff that Apple was going to be doing, because when you combine LiDAR with the camera, like you can do a lot more accurate placing of objects within the real world, but virtual objects within the real world, and that's exactly the same kind of technology you would use for AR. There's been plenty of leaks over the years of Apple glasses, and even the patents have been out, so they have been working on this, but Apple 100%. They just want to get it right. They're not going to release a half-baked product with patches later or anything. I think they're just taking their time with this, and they don't really have to hurry. Honestly, there's not really like. Can you name a big brand where you can just go out and buy these AR glasses that are amazing, and you can, double your productivity and have all these screens around? Doesn't really exist. So I think they may not even be the first to move. Like they might just wait and see.
And that's what they usually do, right? And I think again, like some companies will stab at it and try and be the first at it, and then obviously Apple's going to come through with something big. And again, it is true that they've been working on that kind of stuff, but they've also been working on so many things that hasn't seen the light of day, right? Like Apple Car, even like potential Apple TV, which is turned into essentially Apple TV that we know today.
Right.
But things like that, for example, on the consumer end, that they've worked, but never really saw it as a product that changed the game. So yeah, I'm hoping 2023 will be the year. So which means I'll really look forward to September and October to see if my predictions
there you go.
come true.
But just on the note of a product never reaching the light of day, do you know the one product that Apple announced but had never released?
I don't.
It's actually the like magic charger or the wireless charger that they did. I think it came, like they announced it with the iPhone 10.
Okay.
And then they announced it on stage, and then there was more delays, and then it got removed from the product website.
like quietly?
Yeah.
Or
okay. Yeah. So they never announced that it was being, like there was no announcement that it was being discontinued. But then there was some guy on YouTube which managed to somehow from China get like a prototype.
It's always this one guy on YouTube.
So like essentially he compared it with the schematics and everything, and it was right. But the problem was essentially the engineers just couldn't figure out how to get that much power and wattage in such a small area, because they have these like rings, that are conducting and end up charging the phone or whatever. But there was too much heat, so they couldn't do it in such a small area. So that was the one failure that Apple did, which was surprising to me when I found that out.
Fair enough.
Usually they just carry through. So little fun fact.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. So yeah, it should be pretty interesting. And I guess one bonus prediction. We will hit 100K on the YouTube channel.
Oof, that's
this is more of manifesting than prediction.
Right.
So we'll see December 2023 if we have been able to keep that goal.
Yep.
So if we have, then that's awesome. Otherwise, still be okay to speak to the few people who listen to us.
Yeah.
So.
One more prediction. I think Argentina would win the World Cup.
I mean, I know we're predicting backwards, so
just thought I'd throw that in there. All right. So is that all we got?
I think that's all we got.
Okay. Well, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got some entertainment out of this, and we'll see you again for the next episode. Cheers.